Okay, so I want to demo a couple of things for you, and these are in the activity for today, so they're all in your course book, and you can get to these two files if you need them, but you shouldn't need them right now. You should be able to just look at what I present to you and get an idea for where we're going with this portion of the class. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open a web page. Now, tell me the difference between this web page and a web page that you would like to see on the web. In one word, yeah. Or two words if you want.
No formatting.
No format. Well, no, that's not true. Not no formatting.
Okay.
Ugly is the word I'm looking for, right? This is raw information without the niceties of being presented on the web. And I'm doing that on purpose. Partly it's because, I couldn't do that stuff well if I wanted to, as you probably well know. But the real reason is I want to strip away all the things that I don't want you to pay attention to. And I want to put in the minimum amount of layout and formatting that will allow you to focus on the key things that we're trying to do. What I want you to cultivate is the ability to just squint a little bit, to pull back the curtains on this, and to see that behind here is an information structure, that there is structured information that drives this page. Later on we'll learn all about how to make that, how to actually create pages like this, but for now I want you to focus on recognizing it and seeing what the structure is. Okay, so we have some words, some structure words. What are some of our structure words?
Title?
How about the big ones that define what we mean by information structure in this class? The really big words. Access structure, that's one word. Yeah, what else? Information type and information item. Okay, those are the three biggies. We're going to drill down on access structure, and I'm going to give you 4 more biggies under that, but we're not there yet. Really, right now, we're on information type and information items. That's the big deal. So look at this page and tell me, can you see an information type on this page?
I'd say coffee.
Okay.
Generically.
What makes you say that coffee is a good candidate for an information type?
There's 2 different varieties of coffee with information about that coffee beneath it.
Okay.
And
That's
the heading copies.
Okay, right, exactly, right? There's a big clue here that's a title, right? We have a title and we have a recurring presentation. Can you see that? The title, that's a dead giveaway, and a recurring presentation, that's not a dead giveaway, but you should continually look for, a recurring presentation. Now, one thing that you can't automatically see, but when I scroll down maybe a little bit you can, is what's the relationship between this presentation of the first one and this presentation of the second one?
Similar structure?
Yeah, so similar, give me a different word than structure.
Format.
Okay, so they're formatted similarly, that's for sure. But we know, I hope we all know, that we're not going to really look so much in that direction. We're going to look in the direction of behind the scenes. What do you think is true about these 2 coffees? Go ahead.
They are both.
Is it Ephraim?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are both coffees.
Okay.
They both are the children of coffee.
Okay, you're starting already to think about how we would put this in XML. And what you're saying is true, but you're a little bit ahead of the game. So
The same kind of information is repeated.
there you go, right? That's kind of what I'm looking for here. The same kind of information is repeated both for coffee A and coffee B, and you can imagine if there was 1,000 coffees for coffee 3 through 1,000. Question? No. So the turn that I want to make immediately, and I want to kind of drill this into you guys' heads so that you never look at a web page the same way, is that this is not a web page. This is a certain representation of an underlying information structure. And from the standpoint of this course, as I said before, sure, the formatting and the layout and all that stuff is important, but it's not where we're going here. Where we're going here is for you to detect the structure behind the scenes that drives this page or any other presentation of these coffees. Can you imagine that I could also represent these coffees as pamphlets, right? Or point of purchase displays, or maybe an encyclopedia of coffee that's not this page, but it's some other kind of page? Can you see that? That if I have a coffee represented somewhere behind this page, abstractly, structurally, making this page is simply a matter of mapping my structural elements to HTML formatting elements. Okay, so we'll go further with that concept later. What I want you to do now is cultivate an eye for the structure. So what we have so far is there's an information type and for lack of a better word, let's call it coffee. Okay? And then point to an instance on this page of the type coffee. Yeah?
Any coffee.
Any one of these chunks is an instance, right? What makes them all instances of the type coffee? What has to be true in order for us to say, oh, this is an instance of coffee and that's an instance of coffee? Uh-huh. Yeah?
Follow the rules of that info type.
Exactly. They follow the rules of the info type. The info type is coffee. Okay, now somebody, give me a rule. Look at this page and give me a rule. How about some new hands? Yeah.
Coffee must have a title.
Okay, good. That's a nice rule. Coffee must have a title. Can't disprove it by what we see here, right? Because every coffee has a title. But it's also a fairly safe assumption. What would it be like if our coffees didn't have a title? They'd be missing something major, right? Okay, another one. Yeah.
Describe the flavor and the intensity.
Okay, coffees have a flavor and intensity. And if I scrolled down here, I would see flavor and intensity again. So now is your first chance to practice something huge, which is, yeah.
Quick question.
Uh-huh.
Since we're so far back, how did you reach this page? So you can just have it.
Oh, it's linked to the activity for today. So if you go to today's work, and you'll see an activity in your workbook that says something like having a simple information type instance or something like that, and then there's 2 files to download. Okay, well, I'll help you with it a little later. Really, you don't have to do much besides simply look at it, and if you need to, come on forward. You're sitting about as far back as you could. All right, so we have flavors and intensities. Now, your first exercise in naming. Are flavors and intensities kind of related to each other?
Yes.
The page kind of tells you that, right? How does the page tell you that?
They're at the table.
Yeah, they're all sitting in the same table together. So how might we characterize flavor and intensity? Is there a wider word?
You might call them values of coffee.
Okay, the values of coffee. The page actually suggests a word, right? Yeah? Qualities, right? So we might say that a coffee has a title, a coffee has a set of qualities. Now from this page we can tell that they both have flavor and intensity. What we can't tell, and this is for later times, what we can't tell is, do they have to have flavor and intensity? Can they have other stuff as well? What's the minimum number of flavors it can have? Can it have 2 flavors? Can it have 2 intensities? How are we going to get a next level of detail? But for now, you're doing exactly the right thing. You're saying we got something called a type called coffee, and if there's a type called coffee, that type called coffee has a set of rules. And we're trying to deduce the rules, and we're going to get as close as we can by just looking at the web page. So we see that it has a set of qualities, and one quality is flavor, one quality is intensity. What else? Uh-huh.
They have an image.
Okay, each coffee has an image. Again, we can't tell whether it's mandatory or not, but let's just guess that everything on the screen for now is mandatory. Has to have an image, has to have a title, has to have some qualities. Yeah?
Has a description.
Has a description. Why did you choose the word description? It's a good word. I like it. Why did you choose the word description?
Because it gives you information about what the coffee is all about. But you already talked about its quality.
Yeah.
So
I asked that question kind of rhetorically, right? It's hard to say, well, why did I call it description? You called it description because that's the right word, right? Because that's the word that fits this thing right here. And I want to make a big point of that right off the bat because that's important. It's really important to choose the right words. And that's why, at least for a large number of the people in this room, this is your life, right? This is what you're good at. This is why you're here. Because you're good at naming things. You're good at putting them in these little boxes, right? That's one thing that I would say has to be a common thread among all information professionals is that at least they're good at it. At most, they love doing it and they can't stop doing it, right? But at the very least, you're good at naming things and putting them in little boxes and saying what they are and what they're not and finding the right words to describe them. That's a critical element of everything that we're going to do. So it matters that you called this description instead of some other word, because description is, at least to a first approximation, the right word, the right way to describe this.